Once upon a time, there was a farmer who had 2 daughters, and his farm was very, very small, and he didn't have enough to keep his 2 daughters. So the eldest said, I think it's time to make my way in the world. Will you give me bread and water, and I will go and make my fortune? And the father said yes. Of course he'd say yes. He was getting rid of one of them. So off they went. And the girl, she set off, and she walked and she walked and she walked and she walked down the road until she was tired, and she sat down for a rest. And suddenly there was a little man beside her, and he said, what are you doing and where are you going? And she explained, and he said, aha, if you keep going down this road, you will get to a wood, and in the wood there is a house, and in that house, there is a woman, and she might have some work for you. Thank you, said the girl. Will you share your bread and water? Said the little man. Oh, no, said the girl, I can't. That's all I've got. But he didn't seem to mind, so she set off, and she walked and she walked and she walked. And she got to that little wood, and in the wood there was a little house, and there, when she knocked on the door, was a very surprising woman. For the woman, she had the greenest eyes you have ever seen, and hair that seemed to be slightly green, and her dress was all green. And the girl was slightly taken aback, and she stared. But then the woman said, what do you want? And the girl said, I'm looking for work. What can you do? Said the woman. Oh, said the girl, remembering quickly, I can bake and I can brew and I can make an Irish stew. Come in, said the woman. I will test you out. Clean everything in here, but do not look up the chimney and do not look in the long case clock. So the girl worked and worked and worked all night until the sun had gone down and the fire had gone down, and then she curled up in front of the fire to set. And when the light came up, she woke and she started cleaning again. And she was cleaning when a little child came down the stairs. And it was exactly like its mother. A little girl with green eyes, that hair that seemed to be touched with green, and that green dress. And as that little girl came down, she looked at the girl and she said, want food! Want food now! And the girl was a bit shocked. She said, I can't, I'm cleaning. Want food now, she said. And the girl kept saying, no, I can't. The little girl said, Mother! And the mother came down. And the mother had a little axe in her hand. And the mother went to the girl and she went, chop, 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 and took up her head. And she put the head up the chimney. And she put the body in the long case clock. And all was quiet in the little green house. Back at the farm, the younger daughter thought, what am I sitting here for? Wasting my time. Things have got no better. I will seek my fortune too. My sister hasn't come back, so she must have found her fortune. So she went to her father and said, can I have bread and water, and I will go and seek my fortune. So off she went. And she walked 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 and she walked, and she sat down at lunchtime. Oh, she was so tired. And suddenly a little man appeared right beside her. And the little man said, where are you going and what are you doing? And she told him. And he said, going on this road and you get to a wood, and in the wood there is a house, and in the house there is a lady, and I'm sure she'll give you some work. And then he said, will you share your bread and water? Of course, said the girl, and she shared everything. And then she set off, and she walked and she walked and she walked, and she got to that house in the wood. She knocked on the door. Oh, what a surprise! There was that woman with those green eyes, the hair tinged with green, and that dress so green. What do you want? Said the woman. I'm looking for work, said the girl. What can you do? And the girl remembered. I can bake and I can brew and I can make an Irish stew. Ah, come in, said the woman. clean down here, and we will see how it goes. So the girl cleaned and cleaned and cleaned until the sun went down and the fire went down, and she curled up in front of the fire. In the morning she woke up and she was cleaning again and everything. And then there was a noise. There was a child coming down the stairs. Green hair just like her mother's, green eyes just like her mother's, green dress just like her mother's. And she looked at the girl and she went, "Want food? Want food now?" Said the girl, "Where is the food?" And the girl pointed, and there was a big pot with some bread in. And she took out the bread and she sliced the top of the loaf and laid it on the table. The girl looked shocked. "Butter!" So she found the butter. And the girl ate slice after slice, and then the mother came and ate slice after slice. And then they offered the girl, who had not eaten last night and had not eaten yet. And soon they were having a good time at the table. And the mother said, "Me and my daughter are going out. Please make a stew for lunch." So the mother and the daughter, they called their cats, and their cats came with beautiful saddles, exquisite bridles, and they got on the back and they rode off on their black cats. And the girl watched as they disappeared and made sure that she counted to 10. And then, of course, she ran round the house looking for her sister. Where would her sister be? And then she looked up the chimney, and there was the head of her sister, and she laid it on the floor. And she found the long case clock, and in the long case clock was the body of her sister. And she laid that on the floor, and she cried, and she stroked the neck of her sister. And as she cried, those tears moulded the neck. And suddenly her sister's eyes blinked and opened. And the reunion was wonderful. They were so excited. But then the girl said, "I can hear them coming. I can hear them coming. Quick, we must run." So they ran out to the back garden and they looked at the beautiful pear tree. "Hide us, pear tree, hide us." But the pear tree said nothing. They ran to the apple tree. "Hide us, apple tree, hide us." But the apple tree said nothing. So they ran to the gooseberry bush. Gooseberry bush, hide us." And the gooseberry bush shook and shivered and lifted its spines, and the girls ran underneath. Just in time, because then in came the green woman, striding around, looking. "There is nobody here," she said. And she took up her axe and she went to the big pear tree. "Where are they?" she said to the pear tree. And it said nothing. So she went chop, chop, chop. She went to the apple tree. "Where are they?" she said. And she went to the apple tree and it said nothing. And so she went chop, chop, chop. And then she went to the gooseberry bushes. "Where are they?" she said. And the gooseberry bushes shivered and shook. And they went that way. And so the woman and her daughter went back to their cats, and they got on and they rode away. And the girl and their sister waited and waited and waited, and then lifted themselves out from under the prickly gooseberry bushes. And the girl and her sister were so relieved. But the sister wanted to run straight away, but the girl said, "No, we have done our work, we will take our payment." And they went upstairs and they took a bag of gold and a dress each. And then they ran away. I know not where, but obviously somewhere smart in Hertfordshire. And that is my tale. Thank you.